How's it going, guys? Cody, guys, back again, dropping yet another video. Right, guys, this time it's in the Huffington Post UK. I put a link in the description below like I always do. And the headline reads, "Quarter of prisoners released last Christmas were left homeless or sleeping rough." The story reads, "Yet more evidence of a broken system. A quarter of all prisoners released last Christmas were left homeless, sleeping rough, or in unsettled accommodation," it has emerged. Just under half of the 5,860 offenders let out in December of 2017 were housed by the state, with a total of 243 left to sleep on the streets. A further 625 were classified as homeless and 683 were in other unsettled accommodation, a parliamentary question by Shadow Justice Secretary Richard Burgon has revealed. The government has been branded shameful for failing to find offenders stable accommodation, and critics say the failings have heightened the risks of death in the cold winter months and the risk of reoffending. It comes amid mounting concern for the safety of rough sleepers after the Office for National Statistics, or the ONS, found that nearly 600 homeless people have died in 2017, a rise of 24% over 5 years. Christina Maria, who's the chief executive of the charity Revolving Doors Agency, which aims to reduce homelessness and reoffending, said the winter temperatures has left people at risk of serious illnesses and even death. And then there's a breakdown of the statistics. Easy for me to say. I'll put that at the start, guys, in a picture. It says here, Marriott said, "It is shameful that the rates of homelessness on release from prison are continuing to rise. The government needs to take action so people leaving prison have a secure place to live. We know the risks of dying whilst living on the streets are higher at this time of year." There was renewed focus on the plight of the homeless after 43-year-old Gayula Remez collapsed close to the entrance of the Houses of Parliament this week. He was taken to Central London Hospital and later died. God bless him, may rest in peace. Burgon said the prisoners attempting to rebuild their lives need a settled home. He said there is yet more evidence of a broken system in a country as wealthy as ours. Nobody should be homeless. But too many people leave prison without even the certainty that they'll have a roof over their head the next day. With reports of some prisoners even being handed tents and sleeping bags on the day of release. It makes it much more difficult to find work and turn their lives around if they don't have settled accommodation upon release. The Ministry of Justice said it has pumped 22 million into targeted housing services for offenders to ensure there is not a repeat of the figures this festive season. The department added it was investing £6 million into a rough sleeping strategy, which are pilot schemes bringing together local prisons, local authorities and probation. A spokesman said everyone leaving prison should have a stable place to live, something we know is crucial to preventing reoffending. What do you want me to first off, right? Richard Burgon, right? He's a Labour Shadow Justice Secretary for Defence. Now, Justice Secretary, yeah. He's the shadow one for the Labour Party. Now, all this is, guys, it's a true statement, 1,000,000%, but what it is on his part, it's political point scoring, guys. Now, I don't care. For me, I don't really buy into politics because they're all self-serving, middle class, corrupt bastards. That's just my honest opinion. If you have got nowhere to live upon release from prison, right? Many people go to prison, lose their accommodation because they've been on a long stretch and even short stretches, guys, right? Then they can turn to drugs as a coping mechanism, or they start racking up charges and adjudications whilst inside. Why? Because they're scared of being released with nowhere to live. Some prisoners enter prison having nowhere to live. This time of year, if you are homeless, the only people that prosper in prison, guys, and where it's not a punishment to people going to prison, are those that have got nothing on the out. They've been homeless, it's freezing cold, they go to prison, there's a roof over their head, 3 meals a day, even though the food's shocking, and there's drugs on tap. That is for some. That comment is aimed at someone that's got nothing on the out. They've landed in prison, it's freezing cold, they've got a warm cell, 3 meals a day, and drugs on tap, but obviously you've got to pay for them drugs. But yeah, so, but then if you're inside and stuff, and you've got a family and friends and a loved one and a support network, prison's a massive punishment, isn't it? Now, if you leave prison, I've seen so many people go to prison having never taken drugs in their life and are leaving as addicts or worse in body bags, right? Now, Like I say, the system is broken. And when you leave prison, guys, right, you leave with £46. There's a discharge grant, right? You've not worked for that. You've not saved it up. When you leave prison, you are given a £46 discharge grant. £46, guys, it's not gone up for many a year. It hasn't gone up at all. The cost of living goes up. Cost of even drugs go up. And like I say, a lot of these people that are leaving prison are buying drugs with the money. That's why I mentioned drugs there. Obviously, I hope that people aren't going down that route and they can kick addiction. But when you're in prison, you're highly likely that you can end up on drugs. And I've spoken to stupid amounts of prisoners' girlfriends this year where their loved one has turned to drugs. And it's a sad... They might have battled addiction previous. They might have gone to prison and it's fucking with their head. Because psychologically, prison messes with your head. And then they start taking drugs as a coping mechanism to get them through the day, secure the boredom. They could be peer pressured, spite. Do you know what I mean? There's a million different reasons why people take drugs in prison. But then you're released, right? And if you've got nowhere to call home, if you've not got a cell, foundation, a home life to work up from, a foundation to work up from, you're going to fall straight back into the cracks. You're going to end up sleeping on the streets. I spoken to a kid, a few months ago from, like, he lives in Lincoln, or he was living in Lincoln when I spoke to him. He'd kicked the drug habit, he'd been clean for 3 years, he went to prison, he stayed off the drugs, he was begging OMU, the Offender Management Unit, I do not want to leave prison homeless because I know for a fact I'll end up back as an addict. Begged them, don't put me in a homeless hostel with addicts, please put me in like a halfway house or help me get a flat or something. What did he do? They put him in a homeless hostel. What happened? He was back using Class A drugs. How does he pay for them drugs? You guessed it. He commits crime. The revolving door, guys. And then the Ministry of Justice and the taxpayers are like, well, how come they keep reoffending? Because prison doesn't work. And when you leave prison, they should act as a gap, as a bridge. And literally, no one should leave prison without accommodation. I genuinely believe that. Now, if you give accommodation to everyone that leaves prison, obviously there's that. We're talking in like hypothetical way because I'm not stupid. I know how expensive it is, and I know there's more people than we've got houses, whether it be bedsit, whether it be hostels, whether it be like properties. But like I say, guys, if you leave prison homeless, right, and with an addiction, you're going to commit crime probably the same day, if not the next day, to feed yourself, to feed your habit. How many people do you think, and I'm not stereotyping here because drug addiction and alcohol misuse and stuff like that is a massive thing, but drug addiction and alcohol addiction, right, alcoholics and stuff like that. My dad's an alcoholic, my sister's an alcoholic, I'll be honest with you. And normally people substitute alcohol and drugs and it's trying to mask over something that's happened in their childhood or in their lives. It's a coping mechanism, isn't it? But if you've got an addiction to a substance and stuff and you're on the street, right, how many people that are on the streets do you think that have got alcohol addictions, drug addictions, or taking new psychoactive substances like spice? It's massive, guys. And like I say, how many people do you think that are on the streets, that are homeless, that are begging, right, are actually just want that money for food? It's a very small number, guys. And like I say, we shouldn't stereotype homeless people. I've been homeless. I never turned to drink or drugs. I just dealt with the hand that God gave me. And I struggled. It was horrible. And I'm very blessed that I've never been in that position. I've been homeless twice. And I've been in prison 3 times. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, to be honest, guys. The way that people looked at me, the way that I was treated, I'd go into a library, it'd be warm, I'd sleep, I'd get my head down, I'd be dribbling on the table, like, with my head down, just dribbling. And then a member of staff's coming over, sorry, you can't sleep here. And then I'm going into Tesco's toilets or something, nabbing sandwiches to feed myself because I didn't have an addiction. So, but I was too proud to beg as well. And there's nothing wrong with begging, guys, at all. It just wasn't for me. I just didn't want to put myself in that position. Eventually got into a hostel and went from there. But it's not about me. It's about these people that are leaving prison. You leave prison with nowhere to live. You fall straight back into... You might have a support network and that's fantastic. And you might have a loving family and they'll take you back with your addiction and help you and everything else, right? Some people can break addictions. It's incredibly hard for people to do. And then other people can't. And then they start stealing from the loved ones and the families, and family connections break down. And then they kick him out. And then he ends up back on the streets. And then he's stealing to feed his habit and stuff like that. And it's just a very vicious circle, guys. And people look down the nose at people that have been homeless. But before offenders were ever offenders, guys, it was first victims. And I say it a million times. And I stick up for prisoners and I'll speak up for prisoners every day of the week, 7 days a week. But then, like I say, people are leaving. A quarter of prisoners last Christmas left prison with either unsettled accommodation, so you're talking like couch surfing or something, or homeless guys, right? And like I say, it is inevitable that they're going to commit crime, whether it's to feed themselves or to feed a habit or an addiction. They're going to commit crime, and then they get caught eventually. They get recalled to prison, right? And they're back in prison. And then they get out and they're back in the same homelessness position, still knocking around with the same people. They know where, in Manchester there, I think it's called the Booth Centre or something. It's down near the cathedral, right? And even I know that. And like I say, the soup kitchens and stuff like that, there's a lot of people that do a lot of great things for homeless people. We live in one of the most richest countries in the world, guys, right? And we've still got stupid amounts of homeless. Every time I go into Manchester, and like I say, I live very close to the city centre now. And when I go into the city centre, guys, all you see is just strewn bodies. People sleeping in doorways, first thing in the morning, last thing at night, dinner time. People are on drugs, trying to score, trying to shoplift. You go into like rough pubs in town, yeah, like Unicorn and stuff like that in town. People are coming in with stolen goods. Yeah, mate, do you want to buy this, mate? Do you want to buy that, mate? Because they're feeding their habit. And what it does, it fuels the cycle of crime as well. I feel sorry for these people, massively so. People say, oh, people choose to take drugs. Yes, but there's a reason that is a coping mechanism. And like I say, prison doesn't help that. Prison is, it's like, if you're a drug dealer in prison, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's that easy. It angers me, guys, that, like I say, general public's attitude, those on the right side of the tracks that want to brutalise prisoners and stuff, your attitude's all wrong. It doesn't act as a deterrent. It doesn't aid rehabilitation, because rehabilitation is a made-up word. If anything, it makes the problem worse. And it's likely that you, that want to brutalise prisoners, could then become a victim of crime. And with fewer police on the streets and stuff like that, the last thing you should want to do is brutalise prisoners. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. I'm going to put a link in the description below. I'm passionate, guys. That's why I waffled on for 12 minutes. But let me know what you think about the video, guys. I'll put a link in the description below. Like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.